All right, y'all. Welcome, 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 welcome. I am starting a new series about self awareness, accountability, healing, past relationships, all that good stuff, all of that wrapped up in this series. Okay. For those who do not know me, my name is Chastity Mayo. I am a Christian evangelist, influencer, enthusiast, all that good stuff. But I'm a Christian. I believe in God. God is everything to me and more. But God has tasked me with sharing my experiences, like sharing my testimony to help those that He have put under my tutelage, basically, that He has allowed me to encourage, mentor, be a role model to. And y'all, to be honest, your girl done been through some things. So for God to even choose me and think that I'm worthy to mentor anybody, it just baffles me. But I'm like, okay, let's go for it, God. Let's do what it do. And I'm just gonna be obedient. So He has tasked me with starting a new series about just healing, self-awareness, accountability, self-worth, confidence, y'all, past relationships, childhood trauma, all that good stuff. We will be discussing that on this series. So this is episode 1 of many to come. Okay. So for this episode, I wanted to just basically open up with talking about relationships. Like, um, whether y'all have watched my previous episodes or videos, I talk about I was a serial dater. So at one point I had to just overall stop dating because I kept dating, quote unquote, the same type of men. But I had to realize and recognize I was the common denominator in all these relationships. So since I became single, I was in a 10-year relationship with my high school sweetheart. Yes, yeah, neither here nor there. If the Lord releases me later on a later episode, we'll dive a little deeper into that. But I became single in 2020, officially single. And from there, like, I became single in May and started dating somebody in September. So I did not take time to just heal. I went from that relationship, I dated him for 6 months, then dated the next guy for 3 months, and then the next guy for another 3 months. And then I went outside. I was starting and bopping, like, let's just be real. But honestly, I was able to recognize I went from 6 months to 3 months, and the last person that I like truly dated, it probably should have been a month, but it was 2 months too long. Let's be clear. Um, but after all of that, I had to, like, literally early last year, after I ended dating that guy, that was like in February. I had to say I can't date no more. Like, I really had to be real with myself and figure out, why is it that you continue dating either emotionally abusive men or emotionally unavailable men, dating men that are alcoholics or don't drink alcohol for a reason, um, or they have commitment issues. They do not want to get in a committed relationship. I just have to be real with myself. Figure out, why is it that you continue being in these situations or situationships. We all know about situationships. And I had to at one point be accountable and recognize I was the common denominator. I had to be self-aware as to, why was I having repetitive um, failed relationships that were not going anywhere. Why was I over giving and doing wifely things for men that were not even qualified to be my husband yet to receive those things? So I had to be accountable, and that meant I had to self aware. I had to be self aware. And it came down to like a group therapy session that I participated in with my therapist. and she would do these things called constellations. And I can't recall which great psychologist or person from psychology started these or who it's connected to, but it would basically be like a breaking down family histories, like your family tree and all of that good stuff. So say, for example, there was a couple and the wife mentioned the husband he had cheated on her many times. And then the husband was like, she's not available. She's not there. She's not emotionally available. So he felt like she didn't love him or wasn't giving him the love that he needed. So, he went to go cheat. And we all know everything is a choice. So that was the issue that was presented, and she had a bunch of her other clients that participated, and she would randomly, and we know nothing's random, but God would lead her to select certain people to play different roles in the family history for each side. We would break down the family tree on both sides to see where did all of this, the trauma, the issues, where did it all stem from, and what patterns in within the families or the family dynamics can we contribute those things to. And so God would lead her to pick certain people. And she may not even know that you're dealing with this specific issue or that runs in your family or you can relate, but God would lead her to pick certain people to play certain roles within the family tree or in the family. And so she picked me specifically to play like a stepmom or one of the side chicks or something. I don't know. I can't remember. But in that moment, and each constellation would have a theme. So the theme for that specific constellation was like addictions. So drug addictions, alcohol addictions, sex addictions, money addictions. Addiction is addiction. And I was able to personally resonate with the role that I played and with that constellation specifically because God brought me back to my own family tree, and I was able to recognize how addictions run deep on both sides of my family. Like my mom's side, her biological dad, was, drugs, money, alcohol, all that good stuff. Same thing for my dad's side. Alcohol was a big thing, and probably some of the other things as well on his side of the family. So I was able to correlate that to myself personally, and was like, man, I deal with some of these addictions myself. I'm like spending habits, so money, sex, pornography. I had a pornography addiction. I don't even think my parents know that, but if y'all watching this episode, you learned something new. But all of these, like I was able to apply that to myself, but also recognize that I was dating guys that were alcoholics, had alcohol addictions, and I was like, man, this is why you keep dating these men that are alcoholics. And side note, the guys that I were dating, when they would get drunk, I could not stand that version of them, or some of them would be a little more affectionate when they were drunk, but when they were sober, it'd be like no PDA, like no PDA. So whenever they tried to give me some PDA or want to be affectionate, I didn't know how to receive that, or I didn't want to receive it because I'm like, baby, when you're sober, you're going to be back to saying no PDA and be emotionally unavailable. Like, and I ain't with that. We're going to be consistent at whatever it is, either consistent with the no PDA or consistent with the PDA, like the dysfunction and all that craziness. So I was able to apply that to my life and look at that resemblance in the guys that I was dating and recognize that, you attract what you are, you trauma bond with people, and then you attract basically what you know and what's in you. Like energy attracts energy, whether it's good or bad. And then I was also able to recognize, that these guys that I were dating were emotionally unavailable. And that's because my father was emotionally unavailable. And I was able to be real with myself and say, okay, you're chasing these men, you're over giving, you are not setting boundaries, like you are allowing these men to handle you any type of way because you're begging for that love. You're begging for that love that you lacked or did not receive from your father. And let's be very clear, my daddy was there. He was always there physically, and he provided. He was a provider, but he lacked the nurturing, the affection and stuff. I think me and my dad didn't start like hugging until I was probably a freshman or sophomore in college. And when we hugged, it was awkward. It was like that church hug that, like, how we do this? And like, bam, that's enough. Okay, we getting too close. And that, with even when I first started dating and guys would be clingy or emotional, or affectionate, I didn't know how to receive that. I'd be like, okay, you being too soft, or why are you touching me so much? Why do you want to be under me so much? Like, ill. But yeah, I was able to recognize that and just honestly, um, realizing that my father was emotionally unavailable, or he lacked that nurturing and that affection and that emotion to his children. I did not realize how it affected me when it comes to dating. Like, I was dating men that were emotionally unavailable, or they were not as affectionate. So when I finally got to a point where I wanted the affection, I was dating men that were not affectionate, or emotionally, they would be emotionally abusive, mentally abusive, whatever the case may be. I ain't here to talk down on anybody. I appreciate everyone that I dated, okay, because I learned stuff and I just appreciate the experience. I've dated some great guys. We're all a work in progress and all have things to work on. Um, but I was able to recognize that. So I was like, oh man, once I realized this at this therapy session, y'all, I fell out of character. I had to step to the side and do my own little constellation, break down my own family tree on both sides, and realize that, oh baby, we don't need to date no more. Because we keep on attracting this trauma, or this stuff that, the dysfunction that runs in your bloodlines. We keep attracting that because it's in you, it's embedded in your DNA, and you keep on dating these guys or chasing these guys, begging for them to see you or to love you because you did not receive that from your father. And y'all need to be real with yourselves, for your mother and your father. Like, my mom was always very affectionate. She was always very nurturing because her mom was not. So she wanted to give to her kids what she did not receive from her mother. And my mama used to, love bomb us and just give us that love, kiss us and stuff. I knew she loved us. I knew it because not only did she say it, she showed it. But my father, I knew he loved us because he provided. And he probably would say it, but he didn't show it. And so saying it and showing it is two different things. And I needed both of them. Everybody need all that. You need all that good stuff. And love from both of your parents is so important, whether you are a man or a woman. Men, you need to be nurtured and shown love and affection from both of your parents, because I hate when people tell their sons, don't cry, toughen up, you a grown man, you a big boy. No, let the boy cry. Let him cry and teach him. Figure out why is he crying. Don't tell him don't cry. Figure out why are you crying. Let's figure out some other solutions to show your emotions. Let's talk about it. Let's be vulnerable. Because what you end up doing is creating emotionally unavailable men and women. And you setting him up to hurt somebody else in the future. But so once I recognized all of that, I was like, oh no, I can't date. I can't date. Let's just stop that right now. And not to say that I didn't go still be fast, but I stopped dating. I stopped putting myself in situationships, in quote unquote relationships that was not going anywhere and stuff. I just stopped. I completely stopped. And the whole time I wasn't even entertaining men or dating any, like, I wasn't doing any of that, because I was like, dude, we are aware now that we are the common denominator, so we need to do what we need to do to stop putting ourselves in these same situations, because the men are different but you're the same, and you can't blame these men. you got to blame yourself. That's accountability, self-awareness. The only thing I can say is the things that I was trying to get from them was the same: love, affection, attention, a commitment, all of those things. So, y'all, I stopped dating. I was like, oh, girl, we can't date. We can't date no more. We need to just go back inside. Cause baby, I was outside. After I stopped dating, I went outside. I stuck my little toe out there and was been a little hot and a little fast. But then I had to go back inside and figure out I had to have a come to Jesus moment. Like the Lord, it was like, baby, no, you ain't in no position to date because you gonna continue being in the same situation and the cycle is gonna continue repeating until you change. So that took for me to do some childhood, like dig deep into my childhood and be real with myself about the childhood trauma, break down some things and go back to that younger version of Chastity and give her that love and the things that she needs, that nurturing, and kind of reparent her and give her what she lacked so that she can attract something better and exude a different type of energy, exude a different type of spirit. And then I stopped having issues. Like men wouldn't even come my way. And two, because God put me in a season of isolation, but men would not come my way because they know that she ain't about to go for that. She ain't about to play. She ain't about to, because I started healing, like really healing and focused on myself. So that is words. That's a word of advice to everyone. When you finally recognize that, you need to take time out for yourself and heal. No distractions. You do some of that deep healing, because of course people can help you heal as well, but you got to be aware and do some deep work within yourself before you can go and get with someone else, because all y'all gonna do is trauma bond. Or you don't want to, if you know you got a lot of things to work on, interrupt that person that has been doing their work. That would be selfish of you. So be real with yourself. If it's things that childhood trauma, things that you haven't even acknowledged, like if you saw arguing or you heard arguing, you saw, there was infidelity, that is childhood trauma. You were exposed to these things. So you might grow up and be a adulterer or adulteress because that's all you saw growing up and you thought that that's what you were exposed to. You only do what you knew. You only know what you know. Same thing for your parents. If your grandparents were addicts, whether it's drugs, liquor, whatever the case may be, it's a good possibility your parents might be. And you might be, unless you decide otherwise. But it's in you, it's in your DNA. Don't mean just because it's in you that you got to partake and let that write your story and be you or be a part of you. You can make that change. But yeah, y'all, I had to really do some deep healing and some deep digging and make that decision to not date. Now that God has released me to date, your girl's a free agent. Nah, but I had to decide not today. I was like, I'm not in a position to date because I refuse. I had to be accountable and strong enough to say, I ain't dating. I just can't date right now because I need to unpack a lot of things. And that's what a lot of people need to learn how to do and be real with themselves. That's that self-awareness. That's that accountability. And you need to unpack some of those things so that you don't continue putting yourself in these situations or harm and hurt people, have a bunch of innocent bystanders. Because ultimately, that's what I ended up having when I kept being a serial dater, dating these men, and I would hurt some of these men. Like, I treat them like ain't men. I'd be like, okay, that's all you want, bet, and I ain't gonna talk to you after that. Or I'd be like, I ain't looking to get married, not to you. Like, hurting these men feelings, y'all. We ain't gonna even get into that on this episode, but that's all I wanted to kind of give y'all a intro of me, myself, and I. We will dive deep into some things: self-awareness, accountability. I forgot to mention at the beginning that I am wrapping up school to be a licensed family, couple, marriage therapist, counselor. I graduate next year. And, I see individuals right now, I see couples, I see families at this current moment as I enter, and I love it. And it has definitely helped me on my journey of healing. So stay tuned. Make sure, if you have not already, like this video, share it with some people, subscribe to my channel, put the notification bell on, all that good stuff, so that you can be aware and receive those notifications for the next episodes. We're going to dive deep into some things God has told me. He want me to get real, raw, vulnerable with y'all, and transparent. He want me to be hot, like Transformation Church motto is. I think it's humble, open, and transparent. I think we're gonna do all that good stuff on here. I'm gonna tell y'all some deep things, some deep secrets, some deep things about myself and about healing, and even situations that I've never shared with anybody. Just be real raw with y'all so I can help somebody and help y'all heal and become the best version of yourselves. So make sure you tune in for the next episode. I appreciate you all for just supporting me and just listening to you, girl. Okay. Bye, y'all.